Welcome to SVG-TV News for Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. I am Yvette Boynes with the details. Leader of the opposition, Dr. Godwin Friday, says even with one confirmed case of COVID-19 in the country, the government must act now to contain the spread of the virus. Noting that the country's healthcare system cannot deal with an outbreak, Dr. Friday has written to the Prime Minister in which he made several recommendations on how to deal with the coronavirus pandemic. Dr. Friday says the global situation has been overwhelming with a battle for nurses and doctors in several affected countries, and SVG should take notice.
We know we've seen the examples elsewhere. That's one of the things about us being here, where we have not felt the brunt of it. We have learned, we can learn from other people's experience. We see how serious and how damaging this can be. So it is time for us to wake up and say, listen, we must prevent this from happening in St. Vincent. And that is the only course that we have to save lives and serious illness, because if it becomes widespread in our community, our healthcare system is incapable of responding at the level of an epidemic. And so we have to stop that from happening.
The opposition leader said a clear COVID-19 response is needed for all Vincentians to use as a guide.
You have a worst case scenario. Somebody said, listen, this is what could happen if we do not contain the virus. This is how we intend to respond, so that there is some assurance to the people that we have the capacity to respond, and this is how we intend to respond. There hasn't been enough of that. There hasn't been the constant updating of the people in response to this matter. And information is key when it comes to this, because the fear that is spreading is real. You know, people actually, they do feel that they are vulnerable, and they should feel that they are vulnerable. But we have had so many instances where in social media you have the misinformation and just malicious spreading of misinformation. That could only be countered if you have regular and reliable, trustworthy information coming from the government.
A transparent economic package is another issue the opposition leader said should already be in place. He said the service of the Central Water and Sewage Authority, CWSA, is particularly important at this time, and the company must ensure the availability of water for persons to practice proper hygiene.
You know that water, for example, water is essential for maintaining the hygiene practices that are recommended, so that water should be available throughout the country. And the CWSA has a responsibility for doing this. In the Grenadines right now we are going through a drought situation. There must be a supply of water throughout the country to enable people to maintain the proper hygiene that is required.
At 8 this evening, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves is expected to deliver an address to the nation, where he is expected to detail further plans of the government to address the COVID-19 situation in the country. Please note that the Prime Minister's address will be broadcast live right here on SVG-TV at 8 p.m. With much anticipation for the Prime Minister's address, many persons were seen today stocking up on food and supplies, preparing for what may come. The panic buying, however, started weeks ago when the country recorded its first case of COVID-19, which up to this time remains at 1. With other affected countries in the region already putting in place stringent measures to contain the spread of the virus, some persons here believe that given the circumstances, a shutdown may be one of the measures which will be announced this evening by the Prime Minister. Speaking with our news team today, Operations Manager at Massey Stores Limited, Delreese Duncan, said they have been seeing long queues and highlighted what persons have been buying most.
Well, it normalized, and I think in anticipation of what the Prime Minister is about to announce this evening, some persons are actually increasing their purchases.
Any particular items that increase their purchases?
Well, it varies. I think more so canned and biscuits. Some persons are also getting meat products. Cleaning products was a big thing previously. I think at the moment you can seldom find 1 gallon bleach, but that section basically normalized after a while because we're basically out of stock of some of the items there. So that would have actually caused it to normalize.
Duncan believes in the event of a national shutdown, supermarkets will be one of the few businesses allowed to operate.
Not necessarily so. I think I had stock in my home, so I don't need necessarily to do so at the moment. But I am sure if there's a shutdown, it's going to be partial, and a supermarket is basically essential for persons to survive. So I would anticipate that supermarkets would be open. It may be that you have reduced hours, but I would anticipate that supermarkets would be open. So there's really no need for me to panic.
The impact on the business community has been taking a hit from the measures being taken by some countries to contain the virus. Here in SVG, business operators are now contemplating what it would be like if SVG is to take similar measures. In an interview with our news team, General Manager of Rybex Foods, Michael Hewitt, highlighted how a lockdown can affect businesses in the fast food industry.
If we go with what is being done regionally and internationally in terms of whether they call it emergency measures or lockdown measures or quarantine measures, it's limited to what they call essential businesses. And most countries, they include in those essential businesses food providers, restaurants that provide takeout and or delivery facilities. So we do assume that if these were the same measures that would to be applied in St. Vincent, we still would remain open because we do provide takeout. However, of course, it would have an impact on the flow of people in Kingstown, which a lot of our customers will come on their way or from work. So if you reduce drastically the amount of people coming to Kingstown for work, then of course we would be affected, but we would all be affected.
Carnival is a peak period for many local businesses, and Hewitt is dreading postponement, though he understands it might be necessary.
Of course, Carnival is, it's, with Christmas is always the two peaks of the year for most of businesses in St. Vincent, definitely the food businesses, simply because of the foot traffic. So. But then if it's postponed, then it's pushed. And if it happens in October, then, well, we didn't have a peak in October. So whether it happens in July or October, it's happening within the business year, right? So for any business, postponement is not as dramatic as, say, a shutdown, where you're not taking that back. So we'll make do with it.
In terms of food security, CEO of Curry's Distribution Limited, Jimmy Ford, gave assurance that their stock remains stable.
Curry's Distribution is one of the leading, if not the largest importer of food products in the country. And we supply to all the supermarkets and mini-marts and shops, hotels, restaurants, and so on. And we have, so far, we have a reliable supply. We have inventory for over, to take on a normal condition, that should run us for over 8 weeks, and all our supply chain so far intact. We have one or two delays from some of the cleaning suppliers, like for Lysol product and those products that claim to kill 99.9% germs and so on. That is a worldwide phenomenon where every supermarket seems to have problems keeping that on the shelves, and the manufacturers seem to have difficulty keeping up with that. But in terms of the main grocery item, we have that here at the supermarket, and in our wholesale department, our customers, our supermarkets, our mini-marts, our shops can feel comfortable that we have a reliable supply.
SVG's export of agriculture goods has continued uninterrupted to Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago and the Leeward Islands in spite of closed borders for persons traveling between some member states of CARICOM. This was noted in a news release issued by the Ministry of Agriculture yesterday. In the release, Minister of Agriculture Saboto Caesar praised the efforts of his colleagues in Trinidad and Tobago, Clarence Rambaharat, for making this possible. Minister Caesar explained that over several days, they connected the dots across the ministries in both countries with public servants, boat agents, boat captains, traffickers, wholesalers and retailers to ensure that food security was maintained and that the confidence to trade agricultural goods was maintained. The goods from SVG are being transported by the Admiral Bay vessel to Trinidad and Tobago. The Minister of Agriculture of SVG thanked the farmers and traffickers who trusted that the new system will work and continue to ship. Minister Caesar said while COVID-19 brings fears and challenges, the resilience of the region's people will endure. SVG has exported over the last month livestock to Grenada and root crops throughout the OECS, Barbados and Trinidad and Tobago. American Airlines has announced that its last service operating between Miami International Airport and the Argyle International Airport will be next Wednesday, April 1st, in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The service is set to resume operating on June 4th. However, the SVG Tourism Authority said in a statement today that this is subject to change based on the development of the global situation. As of Monday, March 23rd, all travelers arriving to SVG from the following countries are required to quarantine for 14 days: Iran, China, South Korea, Italy, United States of America, United Kingdom, and the European Union member countries. Canada has been added to the list. This was announced today in a news release issued by the Office of the Prime Minister. The release further reminded the general public that quarantine is mandatory in such cases, and individuals who are directed to self-quarantine must remain in their homes or accommodations at all times during the 14-day quarantine period. Government will tomorrow make its payment of salaries and wages for the month of March 2020. A release from the Office of Accountant General says pensioners can also collect their payslips from April 6, 2020. The release also noted that teachers and other persons in the service must collect their slips when school reopens, while other government employees with queries for salaries and/or payroll unit of the Treasury are asked to call 456-1111, extension 387 or 451-2955. Businesses and individuals who are expecting a payment from government through the Treasury Department are asked to first check with the ministry or department, preferable by telephone, before going to the Treasury Department. The adjustments are said to be made to ease person-to-person contact in keeping with the Ministry of Health's protocol of social distancing. The Teachers Union is also following the protocol and has closed its office today. It said all grievances will be handled via telephone or email. With still no cure for COVID-19, persons can still do their part to fend off the virus by boosting their immune system. Some of the immune system boosters were outlined at a COVID-19 symposium last evening, focusing on treatment for the virus. The symposium was hosted by the Ministry of Health, Wellness and the Environment in collaboration with the SVG Pharmacy Council and the SVG Pharmacy Association. Herbalist Joanna Jack was one of the presenters at the symposium. She listed several local products which can be used as immune boosters. She said once used properly, they can yield positive results.
There are some, the garlic, astragalus plants, the milk thistle, don't think that one is here in St. Vincent, the ginseng, you could get it in the drugstores, the green tea, black cumin, the spice, sorrel, pomegranate, ginger and honey, and licorice are just a few plants that have been reported to have immune boosting benefits. They may produce side effects though, especially when combined with other herbs and supplements or medications. The next one, eat more button mushrooms. Mushrooms are high in selenium and B vitamins like riboflavin and niacin, and these minerals and vitamins are necessary for the immune system to work in tip-top form. Mushrooms are also high in polysaccharides, sugar-like molecules that boost immune action also often.
Watermelon, wheat germ, spinach, broccoli, sweet potato, oysters were the other noted immune system boosters.
Also a function. Watermelon is another one. is an immune-boosting fruit. 1 2-cup serving of watermelon has about 270 milligrams of potassium, 30% of the daily value of vitamin A, and 25% of the value of vitamin C. Calories in watermelon aren't much at all. Watermelon also provides vitamin B and glutathione. The body needs these vitamins, nutrients, and compounds like glutathione for proper immune function. Try some wheat germ. Wheat germ is the innermost part of the wheat kernel. It is the most nutrient-rich part of the grain. The germ is rich in B vitamins, zinc, and vitamin E.
There are some antioxidants which the pharmacists say can be used and those which must be avoided.
Chemicals can damage DNA and other cell components. Fruits and vegetables in a wide array of colors provide the best mix of protective antioxidants. That's where you find them to boost overall health and immunity. The link between sleep and a healthy immune system. And these are just some other ways of boosting. I don't think I should read the other one. It's true. And then alcohol, smoking, and nicotine use are bad for the immune system.
The police here are investigating the circumstances surrounding the death of Gamar Robinson, a 31-year-old laborer of Camden Park, which occurred between 8 and 9 p.m. on Tuesday, March 24, 2020. The police said the deceased was met by his mother lying on the porch of his home in a pool of blood. He was taken to the Milton Cato Memorial Hospital and was pronounced dead on arrival by the district's medical officer. Robinson's death has been ruled a homicide, the 7th homicide recorded for the year thus far. The police are seeking information from the general public that will aid with their investigation and with the arrest and prosecution of the offender or offenders. Persons are asked to contact the Assistant Commissioner in charge of crime at 1784-456-1339 or the officer in charge at the Central Division at 1784-458-71211 or the officer in charge of the Criminal Investigations Department at 784-456-1810 or any police station or officer that you are comfortable with. All information, they say, will be treated confidentially.